It is Good Friday, and I'm glad that we could get together. Now, I'm a few minutes late getting started this morning, but it's because I was getting things ready for you and I to do together. Now, I have an empty counter, and we're going to make some treats. They're going to be sweet treats. We're also going to be finishing our little sparrow's nest from Wednesday. So, let's get started. Now, a while ago, I did Mexican Munchies Day, and so I'm going to use that same recipe today, but we're going to do a couple of things with it that are a little bit different that will be wonderful for Easter treats. So, not all the treats are going to be sweet, but they're going to be absolutely wonderful. Now, I hope you have a great big steaming cup of coffee. Mine is sweetened this morning with Da Vinci sugar-free almond syrup. Absolutely one of my favorites. Okay, let's get started. Now, first thing that we're going to need to do is get our dough made. Now, and I did this the first time, but maybe all of you weren't here at that point. Now, I got to tell you, I love hanging out with you guys. So make sure that you click the subscribe, the plus button. Oh, and look at that. I just absolutely, totally forgot to shush my phone. Now it's shushed. Make sure that you click notify, subscribe, click all the things and do all the stuff so that we can hang out together Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 a.m. So, Good Friday. Wasn't so good for me being here on time, but I hope you're having an amazing Good Friday. Now, this is a super simple recipe, and you don't need a great big huge food processor, but a little tiny one definitely makes things easier. Now, this is just a little, 4-cup Cuisinart, and it works super slick. So, let's get started here. I'm adding 1 cup of almond flour and a quarter of a cup of coconut flour. Now, you have to work quickly with this. Coconut flour is an amazing thing, but it's incredibly absorbent. So if you're creating a recipe at home, don't just substitute coconut for almond flour. It absolutely is not going to work. And it won't work because the coconut flour will absorb way more. I think it's something like 3-to-1 what the coconut absorbs. Okay, now next we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. Now the xanthan gum is taking the place of the gluten if we were using a regular flour. Okay, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon, so 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Make sure your baking powder doesn't have aluminum in it, please. Okay, excuse me, 1 second. Pardon me. Frog in my you know, I should almost do this at 1 o'clock so that I don't have that morning frog in my throat. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we are going to put the lid on our little food processor. And we're just going to get this well blended. There you go. So that is well blended. Now I'm going to take this bowl, and to this bowl, this just had my almond flour in it, so no sense in making more dishes than we need to. In this bowl, I'm going to add 1 egg and 3 teaspoons of lime juice, and 1 tablespoon of water. Okay, now we are going to, that one is not going to work. We're going to take a fork and we're going to just whip this up. Now make sure this is whipped up really good because we're going to be adding this to the flour and we don't want We don't want one thing to be in one spot and one in another. So that's all you need to do. Just beat it up a little bit. Does not have to be perfect. Our food processor is going to do most of the work for us. And we are just going to dump that in here. Now we need to work fairly quickly because this coconut flour is going to absorb things quite quickly. Okay, so put the lid on here and we're just going to blend this until it comes together. Now watch how fast this happens. Okay, and that is about all we need to do. Now, get these dishes out of our way. Now, this is going to get turned out onto some plastic wrap because we're going to knead this dough a little bit and then we're going to put it in the fridge and let it rest for 10 minutes. Okay. Now this is important because we need to make sure that everything is mixed. Be really careful when you do this. Don't ever cut yourself. Not that I've never cut myself, but you know, if you can try and avoid cutting yourself, that's definitely better. Okay. Now, if you saw me make this recipe last time, you will know that what I made with it was taco shells, and it works amazing for taco shells. Now we're just going to set this out of the way because we're done with our little food processor. Okay, so now we are just going to knead this a little bit. We just want to bring it together. And once we've brought it together a little bit, I'm just trying not to make a mess on my counter. The less I have to clean up, the happier I am. Do you have somebody that cleans up for you in your house? You know, my husband and I have an amazing deal. Most of the time, I do the cooking and he will offer to do the cleaning because he would rather not do the cooking. And that works really well for me. I am not a fan of doing dishes, but needs to be done. Okay, so we're just kneading this a little bit. Once we've got it together in a ball, we're just going to bring it out and give it a couple more. Okay. Now we're going to wrap the plastic around this, and we are just going to make this into a ball. This needs to be refrigerated for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It just gives the dough a chance to rest. It's giving that coconut flour a chance to absorb what it needs to absorb, and then it's going to be all ready for us to make tortillas out of. But until then, guess what? I have some ready for us. So let's make some nachos. Taco chips, nachos, I don't know, what do you want to call them? But let's do that. Now, you're going to want a cutting board out and a food scale. Now, your food scale is to make sure that your chips are uniform. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut some pieces that are about between 20 and 25 grams. They don't need to be perfect. Now, I've already done some of this. You can probably tell. You might see some of the spices in it. So just zero your food scale. I'm going to put a little piece of plastic wrap on there so I don't get it all mucky. This dough is a little bit sticky. It's not bad though. Okay, so make sure your scale is zeroed. That's 18 grams. That's 20 grams. That's good. We'll weigh that one. That's 32. That's a little bit too much, so we'll take a bit of that off. That's 22. That's good. And we just do this until we have a few that are, that's 22. That's close enough. There we go. Okay, so we do that until we have a few, and then wrap your dough back up because this does dry out quite quickly, and you can set it aside And once you've got these, we've got 4 ready to go here. Once we've used those 4, we're going to be good to go. Now you're going to want a rolling pin or a tortilla press. Now I am using my tortilla press because I have one. If I didn't, that wouldn't be a big deal. Okay, so you take your little pieces of dough and work it into a bit of a ball. Put it in the center. Now I put parchment paper in my tortilla press. It stops it from getting all sticky and mucky, and especially since I'm not doing traditional tortillas, I just think this is a much easier way. Now we're going to turn this 4 times. Once for each side of the press, and what we get when we open this is a beautiful tortilla that is ready to use. Now I am using TSL Organics, which is my spice line. For those of you that hang out here with me, you'll know that. I'm going to take about half a teaspoon and I'm going to put it on my cutting board. Now to this, I've used TSL Organics taco seasoning, the beef taco seasoning, and I've added some extra salt to it because we're making taco chips, so that's important. And also some dried pepper jack cheese that's ground into a flour, and it just gives that extra little bit of cheesy goodness. Now we're going to need this. Now you'll see that I got a head start for us, but yeah, that's me cheating a little bit. Okay, so we're going to take our tortilla and we're going to lay it on the spice that we've put on the cutting board. This just makes it a little easier than doing both sides. And we'll take our seasoning mix that we've made and just rub that around a little bit. Get it out to the edges. You want all of the edges to be fairly uniform. And then turn it over and make sure that you rub the other side. The seasoning that we put on the cutting board sticks to it, but it doesn't really rub into it. So then take a sharp knife and cut it. Now you can decide how you want to cut this. I like doing this in 8 pieces. I think it makes them bite-sized, and especially if you're doing it for kids. Kids will take, if they're going to take 10, it doesn't matter how big they are, they will take 10. So we make them a little bit smaller. Now once we've cut this, you can see it's cut in 8 pieces. And we're going to alternate directions on our cookie sheet that is also lined with parchment paper. And these can go very close together. They're not going to stick together. And we just alternate directions. Now I want to talk to all of you because this is Easter Sunday and or Easter weekend, and it's typically a time when we get together. If you're hanging out here with me, I want you to just say hi. Let me know where you're from, and whether you're hanging out here while I'm live or you're hanging out a little later on, let me know where you're from anyway. I've been hearing a lot in the last little while from different people that are angry. And, you know, I know I've talked a little bit about COVID before, and I am not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a great aunt, and I'm a daughter and a niece, and yeah, all of those things. So I have a lot of family members that have different opinions, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about COVID or politics or their favorite food or their favorite color. People are just so individual, aren't they? And what I've been hearing lately is that people are getting very angry about the new vaccines, one way or the other. They're either for it or they're against it. And whichever side of that fence they land on, they are very passionate in their belief. So here's what I'm going to tell you about that. Now I've sprinkled some spice on the cutting board, as you can see, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little more on top. When it comes to opinions, being angry when you talk to someone is not a good way to get them to hear you. The louder your voice goes, the less they're going to hear you. But more than that, we live in a society, I hope, where we have freedom of choice. And whether you're for something or against something, there's going to be someone that is on the opposite side of that fence. And it is important that you respect their right to have a different opinion than you. And when it comes to their health, how many people do you know that smoke? How many people do you know that drink too much? How many people do you know that do drugs or take crazy chances? I don't know, doing extreme sports. People have different opinions about different things, and it's important that all of us recognize that the most important part is not whether or not they listen to our opinion. It's whether or not we have a family that loves us. And sometimes part of being a loving family member is recognizing that people have different opinions than you and that they have a right to that. And as frustrated as that might make you, it doesn't mean that they should give up that right, because the minute you want them to give up their right to their opinion and just do it because you say it, that means they have an equal right to expect you to give up your opinion. So, that's my thought for the day. And I hope that all of you will have an incredibly loving Easter weekend and a respectful Easter weekend. I know that's what we're hoping for and what we're expecting, because I have an amazing family. And I am looking forward to getting together however we get together over the weekend. So whether you are getting together virtually or getting together in person, depending on where you live, I hope you have an amazing Easter weekend, and that Easter bunny brings everybody something that is nutritious and delicious and hopefully keto. Okay, so here's another tortilla. Now once we're done this, we're going to do something a little bit different. Whoops. Let me put some on this side too. Now these make absolutely wonderful nachos that you can, or taco chips, I don't know, what do you want to call them? They're not corn chips for sure, but they make an amazing treat that you can serve with salsa, you can serve it with guacamole, you can serve it with ranch dip, you can serve it with whatever you like. And if you're using ranch dip or guacamole, remember that TSL also has ranch dip mix and guacamole mix. Good morning, Evelyn. So if you've never tried our ranch dressing mix or our taco mix or our guacamole mix and you want to, just let me know. We can sure make that happen. Okay. Now, there we go. We're going to put this on here. Now, what are you having for Easter dinner? What is tradition in your family? Are you celebrating Easter Sunday? Are you celebrating Passover? Are you getting ready to celebrate Ramadan? What is it that you are celebrating in your family? You know, one of the things that I think is important for those of us that are either doing or contemplating doing intermittent fasting is that Muslim people and many other religions. Now I'm just going to brush this off onto our chips, and then we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to just turn it over on the other side. A lot of different religions around the world have done intermittent fasting for hundreds, thousands of years. So when you are trying to decide whether this intermittent fasting fad is something that you want to participate in, think about that, because it's not something that's going to hurt you. It's something that is absolutely going to benefit you. When you give your body a break from eating for 12, 16, 24 hours, however long you do it, two things I will say. Let's talk a little bit about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not something that I encourage you to do whole hog, right off the hop. I don't want you to go from having 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day to having 1 meal a day 24 hours apart. That's going to be incredibly difficult for you. It just is. It's not something that your brain is used to. Your body isn't going to have a problem with it, but your brain is going to have a problem with it. So, now the other thing, I'm just going to get this ready because it's sitting here drying out, right? Okay. So you want to start by looking at how long you sleep. Because if you're sleeping 8 hours a night, you have supper at 6 p.m., and you don't eat after supper, and then you go to sleep and you don't have breakfast until 7 a.m., you just fasted 13 hours. You just did that. So you can do it. It's just a matter of perspective. You're already doing intermittent fasting. Now, I am going to grab, if I can find it. Okay. My TSL cinnamon. And now this is granulated monk fruit and erythritol mix. And I'm going to put about 3 spoonfuls in here. Well, maybe 4. Yeah, we'll do 4. What the heck. I get a reaction from people when they come to my house and I have a sugar bowl sitting on the counter and they look in it and they go, "What is this? I thought you didn't eat sugar." Okay, then we're just going to put a little bit of cinnamon in there. Now, one of the things that I absolutely loved when my husband and I drove truck and we were down in the Los Angeles area, lots. If you are in the Los Angeles area or you've been there on vacation, have you been to Disneyland maybe? But I loved it when we got to a place that had churros. And churros are a deep fried Mexican treat. Now really, when you're talking about tacos or nachos, when you buy Doritos or whatever brand you're buying in the store, they are all deep fried. These are not going to be deep fried. These are going to be baked. Okay, so one of my favorite things was churros. And so we are going to mix this up. You don't need lots and lots of cinnamon. Cinnamon is a pretty potent spice. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the taco spice, and we're going to put a little bit, that's a little bit too much probably. We're going to put a little bit on the board. Now you can make this as sweet or not as you like. You can add as much cinnamon as you like. When you are seasoning your food, there are no rules. Except keep it low carb, no carb, that would be good. This is definitely not no carb because we have both coconut flour and almond flour in here. Okay, so we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this all over the tortilla that we've made, and then we're going to turn it over. Now we are going to do the same thing, and we're going to cut this in 8 pieces. Now if this is not enough cinnamon for you, if you like a really cinnamony treat, just add some more cinnamon. Okay, now I am only going to do 1 of these in the interest of time, and I just made sure that this end was clean, and we're just going to pop these on here real quick. Okay, and then we're going to pop these in the oven. And we are going to set a timer for 40 minutes. And so preheat your oven to 275 degrees. And let's pop these in there. Okay, so There is our 275 degree oven. They're going to be in there for 40 minutes. Now, at the 40-minute mark, because all ovens are different, at the 40-minute mark, I want you to go in and just push on them a little bit and see if they seem crisp, because we really need them to be crisp when they come out of the oven. Okay, now, while we're waiting for that, let's finish off something that we did on Wednesday. Okay. Now, you remember on Wednesday, we made our little sparrow's nests. And making lemon curd is not a difficult thing to do, but it can be a little bit time consuming. It does need some time to cook down. So we are going to fill our little sparrow's nests today. Now when you put your lemon curd in the fridge, take a piece of saran wrap and have it touch the lemon curd. It'll stop it from getting that hard sugary crust. And you can make these nests as big or as small as you want. And again, you know, kids will take 10, whether they're huge or whether they're not. Now these do get a little bit softer because the sparrow's nests are quite crunchy because we baked the meringue. And then I did some little tiny ones that we can put on top, and they look like a chick or an egg or whatever you want them to look like. You know, you can decorate these however you want. Now, look at this. Now you can do a big platter of those, or you can do a small platter. How many people are you cooking for this weekend? Just you and a friend? A spouse? A family member? Okay, now we're going to set this aside because I know I'm keeping you guys past the 10:30 mark, and I do like to make sure that I'm done. Well, sometimes it's 11 o'clock before we're done, but let's look at what happens when you bake these taco chips. Now this is a container that I am making. I'm going to need a lot of them this weekend. I've had an order for some, and I need to have some made for Dell to take to work when he leaves on Sunday. He'll be home, or on Monday rather, he'll be home for Easter dinner, thankfully. And I also wanted to have some to share with you this morning. Now, I am not going to put any kind of dip on it. I'm just going to... I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but it's perfect. These are so easy. If you don't have a tortilla press, use a rolling pin, roll it out thin, cut it in whatever shape you want. Do you want to use a cookie cutter and make heart tortillas? I mean, you can do whatever you like. This is a wonderful snack as a treat occasionally. If you are doing keto to reverse a chronic condition, to lose weight, I strongly encourage you, A, not to snack. There are some occasions like Easter where you just do, but don't snack. 1-2 meals a day, that should be about as much as you go. And then every now and again, give yourself a treat. We all deserve a treat, right? We do. Okay, so this is a treat. And Dell takes these to work to use as part of his meal. He'll put them in a salad. So you want a taco salad, you can break these up in it. You want, whatever it is that you want to use them for, you can incorporate them in your meal. If you make guacamole with your meal, you can have a few of these. So we have taco chips and we have sparrow's nests. So whether you like sweet or whether you like savory, we have something here. And remember, whether your opinion is sweet or savory, make sure that the opinion that counts the most is the love that you have for your family. Everyone has a right to an opinion. And by accepting that and respecting that, you are taking a step closer to living your best version of this shining life. And that's what we all need to do this long weekend. And until we see each other on Sunday, I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I'm looking forward to us getting together again. So be kind to each other. We'll talk to you on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, right here, and we are going to talk about truck drivers and travelers. Are you going out in your RV and you need to have some food ready to go? That can be very similar to what truck drivers deal with. So join us here. Send a copy of this, send a link to this to your friends, to your family, to whoever it is that you know that could benefit from this, or that either drives truck or knows somebody that drives truck. Let's get the word out in a gentle, respectful way, and I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday morning.